Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to discuss, should you wear a mask when you're driving in a car by yourself? Should you use hand sanitizer or soap to clean your hands? What's the difference between an N95 mask and a clinical mask? Which one should you be wearing right now? And who are the approved vendors for these masks? And finally, we're going to discuss, should you wear a mask when you're walking or jogging outside in your neighborhood? This is critical information because many states are allowing their stay-at-home orders to expire at this month. And this information is also important to ensure that your family stays safe during this time. Now, there's a lot of information out there from many different sources, but today we're going to focus on the authorities in this field, mainly the CDC and the National Institutes of Health, which is better known as NIH. If you like this video, go check out my previous video entitled Tips for Strengthening Your Family, Growing Your Finances, and Securing Your Future During This Lockdown. That video provides practical tips that you can use and implement in your life right now to improve your life. So definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to say, shoot them to me in the comment section and then I'll respond back to you. So let's talk about hand sanitizer. When you purchase your hand sanitizer, you want to ensure that it includes at least 60% alcohol. And when you're using your hand sanitizer, you want to make sure that your hand sanitizer dries on your hands before you touch another surface or before trying to dry your hands yourself. Some of the pros with hand sanitizer is it's been proven to be effective in clinical settings like hospitals, and it eliminates certain types of germs. Some of the cons with hand sanitizer is it's not good on heavily soiled hands and if your hands are greasy. Hands become heavily soiled and greasy when you're in community sports or community camping, fishing, handling food, or any of those type of activities. Hand sanitizer also only eliminates certain types of germs, not all germs. And then finally, hand sanitizer might not work well when it comes to removing chemicals from your hands like pesticides and heavy metals. On the other hand, when you go to soaps have been proven to remove amounts of all types of germs and heavy chemicals from your hands, even if your hands are heavily soiled or greasy. So just that alone puts soap above hand sanitizer and is recommended over hand sanitizer from the CDC, except if you're in a clinical setting like the hospital. So your question may be, so should I use bar soap or liquid soap? The CDC says there is no difference between using bar soap and liquid soap. They both are just as effective as the other. And then finally, you may be asking, should I use antibacterial soap or plain soap? Which one gives the best benefits? The CDC also says in that situation, there is no added health benefits to using antibacterial soaps. So you can use antibacterial soap or plain soap. They're going to be the same. If you do not have access to soap, you definitely want to use hand sanitizer. But soap from the CDC is the recommended option if you're outside of a clinical setting. There has been some talk about people using their own hand sanitizer. They've gotten these recipes offline or from different locations. The FDA says they highly recommend not using homemade hand sanitizer. They can't confirm what's being included in these homemade hand sanitizers, nor the amounts that were included in the hand sanitizers. They also say they have reports of hand sanitizers burning people and damaging people's hands. So they recommend against it. There's more information in the description below, links for more details of how to wash your hands, how long to wash them, what to use, and all those type of things. Definitely check that out. The purpose of a clinical mask is to prevent you from spreading the virus and to protect you, but only in certain situations. One of the pros of a clinical mask is it protects you from large droplets, from sprays, and from splashes. That's typically seen in a hospital setting with the doctor and their patient. The cons of a clinical mask are it doesn't fit tightly around your nose nor your mouth. When you inhale, it actually opens up on the sides, which allows leakage, and it doesn't protect you from small particles. When you're looking at an N95 mask, that protects you from 95% of large and small particles. There are many N95 masks that are sold out there. You want to make sure your mask is officially approved by the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. They actually have a website that lists all their approved vendors. A link is in the description that you can go to and find those vendors. The pros of an N95 mask are it fits tightly around your mouth and your nose. When you inhale, there's very little leakage, and it protects you from small particles. The N95 mask also protects you from others and others from you. So in this situation, the N95 mask is definitely the choice that you want to use to go with. Like I said, it's difficult to find them, but if you can find an approved one, definitely go with the N95 mask. And you want to make sure that no matter which mask you use, that you're using it properly. I spoke to someone the other week and they were talking about going to this location, and the person that was servicing them went under their mask to wipe their nose and scratch their cheek. It's not as effective once you're doing that. You want to make sure that you do not enter the mask unless you're taking it off, you're washing your hands, and all those right things. The CDC released directions for how to create your own mask and the proper ways of wearing your mask. I have a link in the description that takes you right to that page. Definitely check that out. This has been the topic of discussion on many different social media platforms and on many different blogs. There's been a lot of ideas and thoughts as to what we can and can't do, what we should or shouldn't do. But today I'm going to provide you with some facts from the CDC, NIH, and from Harvard Health. We all want to stop the spread of this virus. Wearing a mask is definitely one of those ways we can help prevent the spread of the virus. There's been many people who's been infected by this virus and they don't know how. This could be one of those ways. Do you plan on having somebody in your car within 72 hours after you exit your car? If so, you may want to consider wearing a mask. The CDC says the virus is spread through person to person. That's coughing, talking, and sneezing. So if you're in your car, you take your mask off. Maybe you don't cough, maybe you don't sneeze, but maybe you get on a Bluetooth phone call and start talking to one of your friends on your ride home. As you're talking, large and small droplets can be coming out of your mouth and could be contaminating different areas of your car. You may not even see those small droplets coming out of your mouth. But say they come on your steering wheel, your shifter, your driver's side door, your passenger seat. When somebody else now gets in the car and they touch one of those areas, their hand or however they touch those areas can now be contaminated. Even you, when you're talking and those droplets are falling, they're falling on your shirt, on your pants, and other areas of your body. Now you can be contaminated. So when you go home and hug your loved ones, they can now get contaminated, which could lead to them being infected. Researchers also say that these droplets can hang in the air for up to 3 hours. So if you have a passenger get in your car within 3 hours of you talking on your cell phone, and they don't put their mask on until they get in the car, they can now be contaminated. They can have it all over their face, or they could actually be infected if they breathe it in. Now, it's not airborne, but the droplets can hang in the air, which means they can now be contaminated and now can be infected after being contaminated. Finally, the CDC says the virus spreads also through the contamination of objects and materials. So if we go back to the same scenario of you talking on your cell phone and the droplets are coming out, now your whole car can be contaminated. Let's talk about the materials and how long this contamination lasts on the materials. The virus has been detected on copper up to 4 hours after it was initially contaminated. It has been detected on cardboard up to 24 hours after it's been contaminated. It's been detected on stainless steel and on plastic up to 72 hours after it's been initially contaminated. If you have any of those type of materials, and there's other materials out there as well, but if you have any of those materials specifically, they can be contaminated for hours up to days. And if you have somebody get in your car after you leave your car, they can now be contaminated, which can lead to them infecting themselves or infecting somebody else. The question surrounding whether you should or shouldn't wear a mask during jogging or running in your neighborhood has not been definitively answered by the CDC. However, they have put out guidelines. For example, they're saying if you're going to run through a large crowd, you should absolutely wear a mask. You should also ensure that you're 6 feet away from anybody when you're running. So that means if you're running towards someone and they're on the same sidewalk as you, one of you all should either run in the streets or one of you all should get on the lawn and just wait for the other to pass. If the mask impedes your breathing in any type of way, you should not wear the mask. Other recommendations and guidelines are you should try to go out early or late or during times that you know a lot of people aren't going to be out running. You want to avoid running around as many people as possible. Another recommendation is to find a location to run in where many people don't run in. There's been talk about wearing cloth mask over your face, since they're easier, it's not as difficult to breathe with those masks. There's also been some research done that says if you wear a cloth mask, it's going to get wet faster because of your sweat. Once it gets wet, that makes you more susceptible to the virus. So it's been recommended that you do not wear a cloth mask when you're running out in your neighborhood or other locations. So my final two thoughts are this. If you're going to the grocery store, highly recommend going early as possible, being the first person in the grocery store. Many grocery stores are cleaning their carts and their floors every night to ensure they don't spread the virus. So the earlier you go, the lower your risk is for touching something contaminated. And then finally, if you're going to wear gloves, I would highly recommend only wearing them if you're in the clinical field. If you're a doctor or a nurse or you're working in a hospital, absolutely wear gloves. If you're going from store to store, I highly recommend that you do not wear gloves. Rather than doing that, wash your hands more frequently, because when you're wearing gloves from multiple stores, you can have the possibility of cross-contaminating multiple items. So that's all I have for today. Definitely subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you have any comments or questions, leave it in the comment section and I'll get back to you as soon as possible.